about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 733.
Come on.
I don't know.
A milestone.
Screamed.
It is a milestone. Yeah, Scream 6.
Screamed.
5 cream 6.
Yeah. Let's go around the
I
table.
prefer to think of it as Ghostface Takes Manhattan.
Yeah.
Oh man, he broke rotation. What do we do in this case? Some people just don't know how to go in rotation. He broke rotation. What's the?
Well, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. And joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Ryan Terry, Professor Horror. Hey, how's it going?
Hey guys, thanks for the timely invitation to join us. It's just amazing how real life sometimes mimics the movies, or perhaps the movies inspires it. So whatever
Lord,
black
that's how we got
magic
Scream 3.
happens,
That's what happens.
I will neither confirm nor deny that I may have been instrumental in the results.
Well, we're glad you could make it, Ryan.
That would make this episode not about Scream,
That's right.
but about Stab.
Yes.
Ah.
Very meta. Very meta.
I mean, meta? Or
Yeah.
Meta.
All the metas.
Yeah.
So I guess we should start by asking Joe what happened. He said he was hit by a car.
Yeah. Not my person.
Well, Ryan was like really doubling down. He's like, well, if they've already got a guest,
Yeah, right.
and they don't get taken out, I've got to at least have
Got a host.
Ryan somehow managed to make sure I tried to get hit twice in one day. So the first, yes, I was in 2 car accidents yesterday.
Oh no.
So the first one is no big, whatever. Guy blew through a red light, hit the side of the car. Not the end of the
Does
world.
that work?
First one was not at work. Second one, yeah, same thing. Sitting at a red light, my light turns green. I go ahead and go, and a guy blows through a red light and smashes into the side of my work car. I don't remember much after that. I woke up walking to the. I remember walking to the stretcher. I actually just got out of the hospital. 3 hours ago.
Oh no.
And
That is
decided
dedication.
I'm not missing Scream. So,
Wow.
That's
Came in the
yeah.
podcast.
Just to be clear, we want this on the record. This isn't about commitment to the show.
No.
Oh.
It's about commitment to
To a franchise.
to the slasher movie.
Yes.
Yeah, because
That's
can we,
absolutely
like, for legal purposes, can you at least state that we did not ask you to come on the show after we knew you
We
got into a
didn't
car
know
accident?
until
I'm
he
not
sat
saying,
down.
I'm not saying that. No, I am here of my own.
They made him come
my
to a
own,
movie podcast after 2 car accidents.
of my own volition. I am here of my own free will.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Crystal still did the clip out after.
That's
she got
what I'm
hit by a
saying, man.
car.
And she got hit by a car.
And she got hit
Yeah,
by
she
a
was
car.
like her person.
She was jogging, and I don't think we talked about this on the show, but she was jogging and got hit by a car, flipped ass over tea kettle.
Yeah, I love that phrase, by the way.
Yes.
But you should have seen the car.
Yeah.
Crystal's pretty strong,
know.
so
Poor car didn't stand a
I
chance.
was like, did you just fat shame my wife?
I don't think that's how it. No.
But
Hulk smash.
so my wife is the Hulk in this.
Yeah,
analogy.
right.
So,
Women are the monsters. We've talked about this before.
go
Barbarian.
for it.
Go
Yeah.
back to that episode.
but yeah, partially collapsed lung. I mean, it was.
She got rocked.
Yeah, she did. So
Yeah, but here I am.
So man,
Rocking like a hurricane.
That's right.
that guy's day. You hit a cop car.
Yeah, how does that work out? Well,
You just go straight to jail.
So I will tell you in the first instance when I got hit, I wasn't on shift. I wasn't working. That guy got real lucky. The second, I don't know how much I could probably say.
Yeah,
currently.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
But yeah, let's just say he didn't. Well, all right, I'm just gonna shut up.
Yeah,
Okay.
just don't.
Physically, he's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing happened on that end.
Yeah.
I would just be scared to death if I hit a cop car. Although it seems like lately in the city of St. Louis, like nobody pays attention to stop signs,
Nope.
or stoplights. I
Well,
mean,
you know that-
see the videos online all the time.
You saw that the article about the 4 people that passed away.
Yeah.
On that, I was the first on scene for that one.
Gotcha.
So it's been that intersection. If you're from St. Louis, between on South Grand, between Laclede and Highway 40 is a speedway.
I was there on Friday. I was right in
Oh,
that area too.
yeah.
On Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on around
No,
that area.
no, but I'm okay. I am definitely sore, a little concussed, but I'm powering.
Well, we've
through.
got Tylenol upstairs if you need it.
Oh no, I'll be fine.
We've got
Yeah,
unused
I got Mountain
Oxy,
Dew.
but that might not be a good
Probably
idea.
not a good. Shouldn't do that.
Yes.
You know?
So before we dig into the movie, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find a podcast. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful and good for our egos, which we need.
At this
fed.
point, yes.
And leave a comment on YouTube too. That's
Yes.
another great way that
That's true.
–
We are also on the YouTube. We still don't have our vanity URL,
Bastards.
but we're trying.
YouTube.com/@RealSpoilers. It's easy to remember.
Okay, so I was a little confused on the last episode because I wasn't sure if it was just adding the @ symbol or if it was /@ but you have
It's /@ Sorry, youtube.com/@RealSpoilers. Now, here's the kicker. If you go to youtube.com/RealSpoilers, this page is not found. It's not like anyone owns it.
Right.
And you've got /the clip out, so it's not like those
Right.
pages don't exist with just, but no, you literally cannot make
so weird.
a vanity URL right now because when they deactivated the system at the time where we got our page to the point where we could get one, and then when they brought it back, everyone had usernames instead of just URLs. So they reactivated the system with only being able to choose @ and then
I wonder if
your-
they're going to take our vanity URL at some point.
you just wonder if it's going to
Yeah.
convert at some point. But yeah, it's like it's just so dumb though that it says this page is not found. It's like, well, if nothing else is
like,
parked
you
there,
can
just
do-
throw it.
Yeah, like
to
yeah.
us. Yeah,
But,
anyway.
you can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/realspoilers. No @ While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you'll share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Librarian Cynthia, Julianne Jordan, Phil Timon, Ralph Tribble, Chris Wall-
Congratulations,
What's that?
Ralph Tribble.
Oh, yeah. I did that last week.
I know.
Chris Valls, Tammy Lynn Powers, Betts, Travis Tewitt, Gabriel Lugo, Chris Magic Man, Chris Sanders, Christopher Rex, kind of a Chris trifecta.
Close.
But one's a Christopher.
Yeah.
Kind of messes it all up.
We'd have to ask him if he goes by
we
that or
would
not.
need a judge's ruling.
Yeah.
Heather Sachs, Jason Weesey, O Geekdom, Invasion of the Remake, Vertigay 314, David Rojas, Spoiler, Peace Theater, Mike, and Oscar, Dissect That Film, Ronnie Castle, Feel and Film, Nostalgia Cast, Matt Naglia, Binge Movies, In Session Film, Ryan Terry, and Geek to Me Radio. So thank you very much for sharing an episode. We greatly appreciate it. And finally, don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra.
It's true. Yeah. And the Christmas stuff is done.
Oh.
It's in the can, at least.
Yeah, well, that's true. We've recorded it.
We released last week. We released our penultimate episode of
Yeah,
Holiday
right.
Horror,
Yeah.
which was Violent Night.
That's correct.
Very timely.
Yeah.
And sorry about. I know you guys gave that to me so far in advance.
We did
before
so
the holidays.
far in advance.
They-
We're trying to be proactive.
And so we recorded
yeah,
the very, very final of at least this Holiday Horror.
Black Christmas
I don't know how early Matt likes to gear up for the next Holiday Horror.
as
but
early as possible.
You should have just left
April.
them in the can at this point.
I know,
Done-
I know.
and
Just
looked
let 'em
really
sit
on,
there.
on top of your game, you know?
no, this is when they like them released, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess let's dig in to Scream 6.
So, I do think after watching this one, there are so many horror franchises that have made it to number 6. By the time you get to number 6, you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. Like, let's pick up the pace a little bit, or what are we doing?
But this is a little different too.
This is
because
different.
of the reboot, like a sequel type thing.
So
where
that's
it's-
interesting. Like, it is 5 was the requel,
Yeah.
but it also stayed like in it didn't negate anything. It
Right.
didn't negate 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Right, it's not a reboot, and it's not even a soft reboot. It's a requel. It literally is.
It's a requel.
Yeah,
But when we say requels, though, they usually with these, they're going from like Halloween 78
Right.
to 2018.
To
And there's
the-
nothing. We're gonna
yeah.
forget about everything else. This franchise isn't doing that. This is like, we're gonna sort of do a requel, but we're gonna stick with our continuity. I think the Scream franchise is
Well, I think most requels stick. Like Jurassic Park's a requel, and it picks up with
I guess that's
a
true.
new cast, but it doesn't it's not a remake. Like it's still living
Or
in that
straight up reboot.
same world as the original.
Yeah.
and the legacy characters show up, and
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would characterize it as a requel because it does continue with especially with 5, the same legacy cast. It's the timeline's not been retconned in any way. So I don't know if I would. I mean, it was displaced by many years. I think to be a requel, in my opinion, is that there's an attempt to remake. And I don't see an attempt in Scream 5 to remake anything as much as I do to perhaps revive. And so I guess maybe if we're saying it's like a revive sequel, but I don't see typically when I use that term, I'm using it for remake, not revive. But I suppose you could use it either way.
It's like reviving the franchise.
They define it in 5 though, right? Doesn't one of the characters
I mean,
say it's
they
a
talk about being a requel, and I mean, not to go against what the professor says,
No.
but I do kind of think like it is. I mean, you've got the love interest. Spoilers for Scream 5.
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it
love
does kind of
the
mirror-
love interest is the killer. The whole end set of the movie ends up in Randy's house or in Stu's house.
Yeah.
It's just like the
Like the
first,
first
just like the first one.
The internet kind of defines it as like you're revisiting this franchise. It's continuing in that world, but it's not a direct sequel to the.
because you got new characters, right?
Right,
So, like,
it's
even-
not a direct sequel that picks up right where the last one left off. you
like
know?
Jurassic
That's fair.
World lives in that world, but
Right.
Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are the stars. But then you pull in the old cast, which they didn't do right away. But like this one, Sydney was in 5. and-
Sydney
Like
was
I would
in
think
5.
Creed is a requel.
I could
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
lives in the world of Rocky, but it's not really following Rocky. But Rocky's in it.
Yeah.
You know,
But it kind of like the story beats do kind of follow. They're
Yeah.
not completely similar, but that first Creed movie we talked about is very much feels like an art house
Yes.
movie. And you've got the underdog, and he loses his first match. I mean, it is a very similar.
I think so.
It's I would call it a soft reboot. It's a that kind of thing.
Yeah. But this franchise, I think, is the most consistently good from 1 to 6, which I think is almost impossible to do. I think you look at any other horror franchises, you get 1 or 2 really good ones in the beginning, and then there's like a fall off, and they kind of pick back up. But by the time we get to 6, it's like, well, now we're in Manhattan, and now we've got Michael is going to have sex with his niece and have a baby. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, this is insane. Where this one doesn't feel that way.
I don't know, Joe. I did not like this movie.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have a hard time seeing. Is it bad? It's not bad.
It's
So
not bad, but
I'm willing to meet you halfway in that it's not bad. So I would say, in my opinion, more accurately, it's the most consistently not bad franchise.
It hasn't jumped the shark.
That's fair.
And
that's fair. That's also fair, right?
It's interesting. I didn't know where we would all land, and Tom just said it's the weakest. Not
I think
bad, but the weakest.
I don't think it's a bad movie either, but I definitely think it's the weakest.
I think
Interesting.
I think it's probably the next to weakest. I mean,
I
I
do
do
not.
think it's toward the end too.
Yeah.
and it's the fifth.
Is it even trying to be scary anymore? Like there was not one scary moment in this
But
movie.
that's just it, Tom.
I think the opening
it's neither.
had some.
I
tension.
don't think that these movies have ever been scary, right?
I don't.
Like,
That first 13 minutes of
That's true.
the
The opening of the
original
first one is
Scream
very
is
the opening of the first one, but
It's
all of these
brilliant.
movies become after the first one. Even the first one, they're Scooby Doo movies.
Kind of comedy.
They're Scooby Doo movies.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
And I think that's where this one kind of fails. It's neither scary, but it's also not funny.
Yeah.
And so it's
think it wants to
existing
be
in
funny
this.
sometimes.
It wants to be funny. That's why it comes down to just poor writing. And I know these guys did a great job with Ready or Not. So I don't know where the hell their
Scream
brains
5.
And
were.
Scream 5.
It's
I
the
think-
same
And Scream-
guys, so we like their work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I mean, we're fans of these guys, and again, it's not a bad movie, but it just didn't capture the same spark. I'm telling you, because for me, my rankings, and I don't usually like to rank stuff, but if I were to just throw it out, I'd be like, Scream, the original is the best, and then I tend to go Scream 5. Like I love that Scream 5.
Honestly, I'm 4. I'm 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6.
Okay.
1,
Wow.
4, 2, 5, 3, 6. Yeah.
You like the old stuff.
well, I'm 1, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 2, 3.
Okay.
And I don't care enough.
But you still, so you still really like this movie, but you put it fourth.
Yeah, but I mean,
So-
like,
but isn't that interesting though?
but I
Like-
also think that Scream 5 and Scream 4 are both pretty great.
Okay.
compared, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
comparatively.
love that you bring that up, Joe. I don't know why 4 gets on
I
so
don't know either.
often, and because it's excellently written.
Yes.
It's
and
better than 3. I don't know
I
how
think the
people
problem
put it.
it feels like it's channeling the original Scream energy. Now and I don't even think Wes Craven himself was under the delusion, or Kevin Williamson, that anything was going to top the first one, but it does feel right in that same
Yes, I agree.
vein as one. And and when I ask people why they don't like it, they nobody can give me a definitive reason. I can
give
give
you
all
why.
kinds of reasons why it works well, but I'm hard pressed to find people who can define why they don't like it, other than they cite the acting, but they don't. But I don't know. So
What
please
do you
enlighten
think?
me.
It came out at the wrong time.
Really?
It came out
there's a
in the
big gap,
wrong
yeah.
spot in the life cycle. It was too far away from the original.
Okay.
Of the original run to feel like, oh, cool, it's time for a new one, but it wasn't far enough away
For nostalgia.
to kick in.
Okay.
So when it came out, it just kind of felt like, really, we're doing this? I mean, I remember going to the screening for Scream 4 and being like, really, we're doing this? And then leaving going, holy, they made a good movie.
Yeah.
I did not anticipate
Okay.
that. Like, and when it came out and kind of tanked and got pretty mediocre reviews, I mean, I looked around like, what did you guys want from a Scream movie? Like, it did all the things, like it did them
Sure.
well. Like, I was really confused, like Ryan, that movie was received so tepidly.
No, I think that movie's fantastic.
Because I was just like, and these aren't my jam, right?
Right,
And so
right.
I was like,
Yeah.
that movie was a lot of fun. It did everything you wanted a Scream movie to do, and it wasn't rewriting the past to make it make sense. It's still like, it's always been very good, even if the premises of these movies are so ridiculously convoluted.
Sure.
But they don't. But normally you get a movie like the Halloween franchise, and they're ridiculously convoluted, and they ignore what came before.
Correct.
Where at least this movie, they've always worked to not completely write off what came before.
4 is almost the first requel. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you've got Dewey, and you've got Gale, and you've got Sid, but they bring in a whole new cast of characters.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think the plan was like they were setting it up, and then these new ones are going to take over, and we don't have to write big checks to the legacy people anymore.
You don't have to write a big check.
Six, I think 4. It's probably. I think it's been a couple of years since I've rewatched it, but I seem to remember it commenting on. Was it reboots?
It was remakes and reboots.
Oh, it was
yeah.
remakes. Okay,
Yeah.
that one. Okay, it was remakes, and so I can see that, Tom. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think
because
like I said, it just came out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, people weren't ready for it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in those movies now, I mean, we talk about how there's not a bad Scream movie, but that isn't how they used to be viewed. I remember people saying the Scream sequels were bad for 3 and 4. That is how they were viewed, but now
3 is
Three!
3 is an outlier only because there was
Bangs?
the bangs, but they had a plan. They had a night, and then the script leaked.
Yeah.
So then they had to figure all that out, and then Columbine happens, and then they have to go back. So if you watch Scream 3, I mean,
Oh.
it's basically PG-13.
Yeah.
Like you could
That's
make
right.
a case for it because they had to take all of the all of the violence out,
Right.
all the on-screen violence, I guess.
I like 3, but I think it's the weakest of the
It is.
franchise.
It is.
And
Yeah,
it
I
was-
think like in that one, like 3 of them just died from high cholesterol.
Correct.
Like, it
yeah.
was-
Right. It was. They just were like,
it
just
was a
write it
big
in there
push to
somehow,
take,
please.
get the kids healthier in
Right.
school.
Right.
and-
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
So
right.
talking about this one though, so for me, what they get right, that opening, I'm like,
great.
we're doing something really
There are
interesting
some
here.
good
Yeah.
scenes in this movie. The opening.
I think the opening's fantastic.
The bodega scene. The subway.
But I was so excited in the opening of this movie because I'm like, we're doing something weird here. And I love how they trick you with the openings in all the movies, right?
See,
but this was like,
What they should have done with this movie, this is what I think they should have done, is that opening scene, and they show you Ghostface, that should have been the movie.
Just keep going with it.
Now and we're gonna flip it to where it's like Columbo. Like we know who the killer is.
Yeah.
How are they gonna figure out who the
that's
killer
what I'm
is?
saying.
Yeah.
I thought
Like-
we were going to live the whole
Oh,
movie
that's
knowing
great.
the killer, and
Yeah.
the characters have to figure it out. That's what I'm saying. There was like a brilliant, this is so weird and different from
I think that
Scream
even-
movies,
even
and they
to the-
didn't
Right.
go with it.
Even to the point where, so we'll just say Samara Weaving is the Janet Leigh of this, the Drew Barrymore of this.
If you've seen
entry.
Ready or Not, she's the final girl.
She
she's
is
the main
yeah.
character of that movie.
She's also in The Babysitter, which if you
Oh,
haven't
The
seen, is
Babysitter's
also-
great.
also fantastic.
Yeah.
Was she the baby or the sitter?
She was the babe.
She was the babysitter.
The babysitter. So, it's the same setup where she's on like a Tinder date. Guy, it's very cute and funny where he's like, I'm so sorry, I get lost. She ends.
Well, at this point, I'm like, this guy sounds like an idiot. Like, would you really hang on to that date for that long if he's like that long?
I don't know how long she's waited, but if she's waited at the lengths that I've waited, I would go out with it. I would at least set
Would you walk down a dark New York alley?
Here's what you're not factoring into the equation.
She's Samara Weaving. No offense to you, but not many people are Samara Weaving.
Right. Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie is Samara Weaving. But
she is in the 1 percentile.
Yeah, right.
She does not need to wait to get
but like
the D.
when it's going on and on and on, and she is Samara Weaving, I'm going like, this is dumb. Like,
I don't disagree with you, but I was just at this point in this movie, when Samara Weaving is the first actress you see, we're like, well, we know what's going to happen to her.
Yeah.
And it is. I think it's.
Do they always die in the intro? Is it every single movie?
Well, I think with Scream, obviously, it was the stunt casting.
It was always stunt.
The movie theater, they die.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Do they always?
Yeah, because it's Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps.
Yeah. What's 3?
3 is what is 3?
Is it a movie? Is that when they do they're watching?
Maybe, but because 4 is
the one that twists the.
It does we see like a 2 whatever.
That's a great intro. That 4 does.
4 is Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell.
But they're watching a movie.
But yes,
yes,
they're
watching Stab 3 or they're watching one of the Stab movies, like they're having a slumber party or something.
So that's what this one kind of tries to pull, the like meta within.
And even 5 does it, right? You kind of think that Jenna Ortega is dead at the beginning of 5, like,
and that was where they pulled the rug out from under you, and that's the first one where the person doesn't die.
Yes,
but it's also what I also appreciate about this opening scene is it really, aside from I love the bait and switch. I think it could have easily been like a Columbo episode, Tom. I don't know if Kevin's ever told you this, but I am a huge Columbo fan myself.
Oh, okay, yeah. Have you watched Poker Face?
It's so good.
No, I haven't seen Poker
Face. That's fantastic.
You gotta watch Poker Face.
It is
so good.
It's the most No, it's on
Peacock.
Peacock. That's the Ryan Johnson.
So good.
I will check it out because what I love about Columbo is we generally knew who it was at the beginning, or even early on, or it was so obvious. It's like, well, I know that's who it is. But the fun was, how is he going to trip them up?
Right.
And they successfully did it for what was it, like 12 seasons? Or
well, they did. They had 7 seasons in the 70s. Now they were short seasons, so because it was part of NBC's Murder Mystery Wheel.
So good.
Where every Sunday you would get a different murder mystery. So it would rotate. It would be like a Columbo, and then the next week it would be like McMillan and Wife, and then I think McCloud. And
were they movie length?
They were movie length. They were like made for TV movies, and so which is why Columbo episodes didn't pop up in syndication for years, is because they were weird times and they weren't consistent. There are some that are like without commercials are like 65 minutes. There are some that clock in at like an hour and 40 or an hour and 50. So
and they came back in the 90s.
So they bring them back in like the early 90s.
80s?
Maybe there's an 89 one, and it runs all the way up until like 2004.
Are they all on Peacock?
I don't know about the new.
I think there's like the older ones are on Amazon, and then the ones starting with the, I guess, late 80s or early 90s, those are on Peacock, because that's how
I think you got that.
That's
flipped.
how I watched them.
Yeah,
but however many years it was, they
Yeah.
consistently kept it interesting, even though you knew who it was, and I feel that's a great point, because it's like this kind of wanted to be that, because there's that whodunit, at least like whodunit adjacency in this one, but I don't think they leaned into it heavily enough. But it's like they wanted to, and I wonder if they were just concerned because whodunits, even though like Knives Out and Glass Onion are, and even Nile and the Murder on Orient Express is making them a little more popular. Maybe they were just worried that they weren't popular enough to really lean into that whodunit. But what else? But the other thing I appreciate about the opening is it really sets the tone, because there is this running commentary, albeit not always very strong, but there is this running commentary on film studies, which caught my attention right away. Samara Weaving is just like, oh my gosh, that's me, and we do refer. back to that, and so I appreciate what it has to say on film studies, on horror film studies, and then the like kind of the just the academic side of just studying these films. And I like that it's a setup which they do follow through on. They touch on it throughout the rest of the movie.
So let's talk about what they do. So the caller, the guy that's on the date, lures her out to the alley because he's like, I'm walking through the alley. Can you see me? I'm waving. She's like, I don't see anybody. And then Ghostface jumps out, kills her.
I do like where you said where the Ghostface is like, you teach horror at a school, and you just walk down a dark alley at night. And of course, Ghostface jumps out and just obliterates her.
But this is the first time we've ever seen Ghostface reveal himself.
Yes,
and
it's
this
always
is right up top. And
your heroine is usually the one that reveals.
Yeah, and this is so exciting to me. I'm just
you're not wrong.
And it still is an exciting intro because it's bait and switch and all that stuff. But like, I thought we are on trajectory for a Scream movie we've never seen. And come to find out, we're watching a Scream movie that we've seen.
This is if we're gonna call the first one a requel of Scream 1, this is a requel of Scream 2.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm wondering if they are going to if the same team continues. I wonder if they ever will really do a bait or switch. Are we on track for a 5 is 1, 6 is 2? Are we gonna redo 3? Are they gonna be making a movie about these characters? I just wonder.
They will not be making a movie. This is my prediction. It will be a true crime podcast.
Good.
Yeah.
Interesting. But so we find out, so it's Tony Revolori who plays Flash Thompson in the new Spider-Man movies. He's in the Grand Budapest Hotel. You know him. So
he plays the hotel.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was. And so he goes back to his apartment, and you find out that he's some kind of stab fanatic. The movies within a movie.
I think he's a horror fanatic. He definitely has like
he's got the masks and the poster of stab.
And I think he's her student. It's not.
He's definitely her student.
Well, no, he is. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's right.
We don't know that
film
yet.
Professor.
Yeah, but we see the stab poster. We see a couple of Ghostface masks. We see the costume up there. So like he's got this whole little shrine, and he's talking to his roommate. And he's like, "Where are you?"
You think that's his roommate?
That's his boyfriend.
I thought it was boyfriend.
Yeah,
could be. Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be, but they still live in the same place. Whatever. Sure. So he's calling, not to dismiss it, but I'm just saying they don't like.
I don't know that they really
double down.
Make a point exactly.
I ultimately don't think it matters.
Got to tell you,
much.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
No, not for long at all. So he's talking to him, and he's like, you start to get the idea, like, yeah, they're planning this. They do this together. He says he has blue balls for killing. He's like,
that's why he killed Samara Weaving. Is like, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. And there is a scene, to Tom's point, where this looked like it was going to be a Columbo thing. This character bumps into Jenna Ortega, like when he's walking back to the dorm, and he's like, "Hey, is your sister going to be there at this party?" And she was like, "I don't know, man. You
Good
call
point."
her."
And that's what was also so exciting.
they're
is you see the killer,
that,
and the victim, the supposed,
the final goal from part 5,
and they don't, address anything. It's not when he's trying to kill her. It's like, is he going to blend into this friend group? And so that is so exciting.
Yeah.
But come to find out,
guess what? They do that anyway.
Yeah, but the partner ends up doing the voice modulator, and he's like, "Don't do that. That's creepy," or whatever. He's like, "I've got to stay in character to study whatever."
Right.
So they're talking. He's admitting what he did. He opens up the fridge,
and there's his boy. There's the boyfriend,
roommate of whatever.
Got Green Lantern.
He did get he got Green Lantern girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess they were dating.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how he confirmed it.
Yes, that's right.
And so Ghostface then pops out and kills him. So
we get the title card.
But they do set up a lot of interesting things, though, because we get the shrine to the stab movies. Later on, we get some hints dropped about who this character was and that they were into collecting stab things and all this. So
I'm just going to get this out of the way now. I thought it was going to be Stu. Like, that's where I thought we were going.
I did too.
That's what I thought,
was
too,
like,
and I wish they did it. I wish they just went simple and did it.
I told my sister, and I, like, this is kind of our thing. Like, this is one of the things that we bonded over as we were getting older.
I'm glad it's not dating, as we
It
talked
is
about in the
not
last
dating,
episode.
no.
There was that promise made.
That was on the Patreon. Don't give it away.
Oh, that was on the Patreon?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That was a weird reference. That you're like, what?
Yeah, I was like,
we both think very highly of Matthew Lillard. I think he gives one of the just the most bonkers and best performances of this franchise.
Oh, he's so good in the first
so
one.
Good.
Man.
He's so good.
he's a great Shaggy.
He's a great Shaggy. They shouldn't have screwed him over the way that they did.
They should not have.
Yeah, and like you, Kevin, I also thought it was going to be, and Joe, I think you said the same thing. I thought it was going to be Stu, and I feel it would have been a better movie had it been Stu, because we even kind of hint at, because there's the fan theory
Well,
that
it was a fan
he
theory.
is
That he's
still
alive.
Yeah.
he is still alive. He may be disfigured from the TV, but still alive. And
But
we
that's why
later
they
on,
did it, Ryan. They
I know,
put it
but
in
it
here
would
as
have
a.
made.
I know. I wish they followed through too, but I'm saying is that like we all thought it was going to be him.
I feel like this script was a choose your own adventure.
I
novel,
don't
and
disagree
They,
at
and
all.
they wrote it in a way that it could have been the Bailey clan, or it could have been Stu, and it was like, oh, we can't get Matthew Lillard, then it's the Bailey.
You really
clan.
can. You can do.
It could work either way.
It's interesting because with this movie, because of the Ghostface nature, you really can say it was anybody until the reveal. As long as
you can't say it was anybody.
Not
When the
anybody.
movie tries to make you think it was Kirby, I was like, well,
She's
was
not.
Ghostface 3'11"?
Same.
Then no,
It's not Kirby.
What
But
they
the-
using-
But okay,
one of the killers
I will
is
say
similar in stature,
In
so-
5, the Ghostface that kills Dewey
they do. That is a weird
is the
one.
girl,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah, it
like
doesn't
I
make
don't
any
think that
sense.
girl was standing over
Was she
Dewey.
wearing stilts?
Yeah, what is she-
But there is one of the killers in this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could at least spoil at this point. There's 3 killers.
There's
in
3
this,
killers,
which
yeah.
is it's different. I mean,
It is different.
They went the other direction.
And I got to tell you, the Dermot Mulroney,
yeah,
yes,
Dylan McDermott,
Dermot McRib.
he's
He's McRibbed for your pleasure.
Very good. He is. I feel like he is trying to do like Matthew Lillard, like he's channeling that manic, and it is not good.
really. I don't know.
I feel like he didn't know if he was the killer until the end because like there are scenes where I think like, oh, this guy's crazy, and then there are other scenes where he plays it so normal,
Right.
that like it reminded me of in American Psycho.
Yeah.
When is it Willem Dafoe that's the detective that's
Yes.
after him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they told him they would film all the scenes twice. One where he knew, they were like, play it like you know he's the killer.
Okay.
And now play it like you don't. And then they would
Interesting.
cut back and they would just kind of mix and match
They
the
Donald
cuts.
Pleasance did.
And so like when you watch the movie, like his performance kind of like toggles back and forth.
Okay.
Even within scenes.
That's a weird
sometimes.
movie too.
Yeah, perhaps they were overly concerned with wanting to keep us from figuring it out, and so there were so many red herrings that the
Yeah.
focus was on, well, how can we throw people off? And they threw people off so much that they forgot, well, where were we going in the first place? Because
Sure.
towards in the third act, which is very weak, there's all these hard right turns.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we painted ourselves into a corner, and now we have to get ourselves out. And so we have almost, I would say it doesn't meet all the quote requirements or conventions for a Deus Ex Machina, but it kind of leans, it goes in that direction because they didn't want us to figure it out. And I appreciate that, but I think that they lean too much into throwing people off. And so
Yeah.
Because when you find
go
out the
somewhere.
answer, there are things that don't make sense anymore.
Right.
Like, so when floppy hair nice guy
Sure.
is on the subway with Mindy.
His name's Ethan, the character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ethan. When Ethan is on the subway with Mindy and she gets attacked,
Correct.
and why is he pulling her off of the subway and screaming for 911? Why doesn't he just leave?
Well, I think
Like, I mean, if the whole thing
Because
is
the
to-
audience had to be tricked,
right,
Tom.
exactly,
So, yeah.
because the audience had to be tricked. It was done for the viewer. It makes no sense within the context of the
Yeah,
story.
Right.
Ultimately,
But hey, that was his best acting. He acted better as Ghostface trying to throw people off by keeping the victim alive than his acting in
post Ghostface.
Yes. Acting post
Yeah, I mean, there's
Ghostface.
Postface.
yeah, there's a lot.
Postface Malone.
There's a lot of things like, so with this movie, another spoiler is that the core four, as they're dubbed in this movie by one of
Core
the
four.
twins, they all survive.
Right.
And so it doesn't really make sense because why would the Ghostface not kill
Because
them all the way?
that's
Well,
that's
so
what
they stab
happens.
everyone
We're-
so
we're
many times.
afraid-
Well,
they
I think the Mindy's brother.
yes.
Chad?
You know
Okay.
that's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, I
I
didn't
see
know
that.
that.
I see that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think he was supposed to live.
I think
whenever you see a movie like this and someone gets brought in on a stretcher to a different crime scene, like,
well,
it's like that was tacked on. They were like, on second thought, leave that one alive.
That's the Dewey thing, right?
And that's one of the issues I take with this. And this is, it's not just Scream 6. It's applicable to other horror films. I'd say mainly those that are either slasher or maybe slasher adjacent, is that we used to not be afraid to kill off our central characters, because they even talk about it. They talk about killing off legacy characters and what have you. What's the problem with that I take with a lot of, quote, we'll call it postmodern horror, is our central characters are somehow superheroes. And that's why I'm not a big Jenna Ortega fan, at least not in the Scream series. And I know I'm the outlier because everybody else seems to love her. I don't know if it's her character or if it's her, but what she brings to Scream, I don't like, because she's treated like a superhero and her sister's they're all treated like superheroes. And even though, yes, they might get stabbed, we're never really concerned for their life, whereas horror films from the 80s and from the 90s and even the earlier Scream movies, like you're genuinely concerned for everybody's life, like nobody is safe. And then you get to this one, it's just like, oh, well, we're afraid to bloody our central characters.
When they kill in that last scene when they set up the kill box, like I forget which one, but the one of the two sisters, I mean, she straight up gets stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah.
And then she just pulls the knife out, and she's at the end.
Well, Kirby gets stabbed in the
They're
abdomen.
sitting there talking on the steps.
Right.
And I was like, you got stabbed.
But not only, it's not even that many.
And you're just sitting there having a casual conversation.
But Kirby got stabbed in the stomach, and then she's like hanging out at the
Yeah,
scene.
but I can accept that only because we've seen people get stabbed in like the side and be okay.
But the first time we saw Kirby get stabbed in the stomach, you thought she was dead because it was a
Right.
serious
And
wound.
And he purposefully stabbed her in the exact same spot.
Correct.
So
correct.
It's just it's the most egregious in this film with people surviving.
The last half of this, the ending of this movie is the weakest part.
And
of
I
this
think they're scared because they kept, for the first 4 movies, they kept the trio alive, and we said these movies are all good, they're not bad, right? Like these are the best. This is the best horror run, and they kept the characters. And I think they are so scared to kill off any of these because, like, we can keep doing this with these. They love them all.
But then they say things like, when these movies happen, it's like legacy characters are killed off, and although I'm glad that did not come to complete fruition.
But yeah, they did the same thing with Gail. They didn't kill her because they.
But then it doesn't. Oh, you just told me this is what was supposed to happen, and this is what always happens. And then to the degree at which the characters were talking about it, well, it didn't happen. So it's a setup that has no payoff. Although what they do with our legacy characters in this one, I don't dislike. But you set up something that there's no payoff.
You know what I don't like? What I don't like with
Racism.
Thank you. That is one. Another thing I don't like. Nothing? Okay.
Homophobia.
Yep. Bingo. Okay. But in this movie, what I really, really don't like is that they kind of take Gail's character growth and throw it away.
A little bit.
Because Gail is not supposed to be that person anymore. We like her now. She's not, she's grown throughout the movies. And now when she walks up and she's like, Channel 5, whatever, I'm like, that's a joke, right?
She's wearing like an outfit that's very similar.
She's literally the Gail that people would.
Another little thing that bothered me in this, because you're right, but also and then Gail and the sisters go off and they have this conversation while the media
is waiting,
is just completely ignoring them. And I was like, there would be cameras filming all
vultures,
of this.
vultures all over it, microphones in their face, all of it.
Yeah,
that scene too. I don't like the fact that Tara punched Gail, because I like how she missed the first one.
That's great.
And I think it would have been much better if she missed the second one, because then it's just like, you're setting this character up to be a superhero. I don't need my final girls as superheroes. I like them as human and flawed. They make mistakes. They nearly die. They, may even cause other people to die. But then everything she sets out to do, it's always in her favor. And I don't think that she should have been able to hit Gail. I think it should have been the first swing, and that's it.
I don't think Gail should have been in the position to get hit and undermine all the growth, and that we like Gail, and these ones have been through this together, through that last one, and you feel like Gail is a different person. And meanwhile, what spurs this is you find out she wrote another book, just like she wrote about Sydney and why she hated her in the first one.
To remain relevant. And I'm not going to go go into details of the conversation Kevin and I had earlier this week, but I like how there are deep moments in this movie. And I love when horror films, they do tap into our most primal fears. And those primal fears aren't always, life or death. Sometimes they can be existential, which can be debilitating or paralyzing. And they bring something up which I personally struggle with, which is
turning down book deals.
was trying to remain relevant. And I really feel for Gail in that moment. And I love her reaction. She says nothing, but there's a look in her face where it's just like, that is my fear, is this is all I have. And if I don't have this, I go back to the
Channel 5 News.
Channel 5, 10 o'clock news or whatever. And I personally struggle with those same things. And so I may express them differently, but that fear is really there. And I think that fear for Gail is genuine. And I like that moment. We don't really revisit it, though. And so we're setting up something that can be really impactful. Oh, there's no follow-up. But I still like...
No, and they're just good. And they
well,
want to save her.
What happens is she gets punched in the face, and then she goes back to being the Gail from 5.
Right.
Right?
Because of the head trauma.
That's exactly, yeah. Ryan, I agree. I love the fact that we get that same setup from Scream 1. Mm-hmm. And, of course, in that one, Neve Campbell does knock out Gail Weathers. But I love the fact that in this one, Gail ducks. And she's like, been here,
just
done
leave
that.
it at that.
And I think that's a great scene. I also, one of the issues I did have with this is, as much as I loved the idea of Ghost Billy kind of messing with our main character, I did not need it in this one.
Or do something with it.
Yeah. Or turn her into the killer.
I don't feel like they're gonna do it, so they maybe should just stop.
Well, here's the problem: is they do kind of the same ending in 5 and 6, right? Yes. Like where you think she's gonna be the killer
He talks
at the end
to
of
her,
5.
She gets all stabby.
And the end of this one, it's the same thing, and it's just like okay. As much as I enjoy seeing a de-aged Skeet Ulrich, you can't go back to that well again, Yeah. And the other thing that I think Kirby in Scream 4
is a different person.
Which is fair, right? She's been through some between 4 and now, right? And I understand.
And she's also been through officer training, and
she's a different person.
And she's not a high school kid anymore.
But there is there's a lightness to her in 4.
Yeah.
That I was hoping was going to come back.
I have a hard time buying her as an FBI officer.
I have a hard time. Yes, thank you. I don't buy her in this role, and I like Kirby's character in 4.
Wonderful in 4.
And
she's a fan favorite.
It's not, even with all that training, you're still a completely different person, and I just don't buy you in this role.
I don't know why you bring back Kirby if you're not going to bring back the same person.
But I also don't want to. Hayden Panettiere in real life has been through some stuff, and this was her first acting gig
in 4 years.
And I think even the writers and directors, the Radio Silence guys, were like, "Man, it took us forever to find her, just because she doesn't have an agent." So
I don't know what
she had some addiction issues, but she was also in a pretty toxic relationship that I think can have an effect on anybody.
Sure. I just don't.
Yeah, so she kind of dropped out of the spotlight.
I know
for a while.
Hero, she was on that show Nashville.
Yes,
and then I started to watch Nashville. It just didn't do it for me.
And she would pop up every once in a while on things. And then Scream 4 was kind of like, oh yeah, like this gal's great. And then
I thought Scream 4 was
Scream 4 was when she was.
That's
popular.
when she was hot.
Yeah.
She was that. They
she's
cast
coming
her
off
off
Heroes.
They cast her off the success of Heroes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not trying to be
dismissive
to any of that or whatever. It's just you bring back fan favorite Kirby, who everyone's like, oh, well, we never saw that she was dead or whatever.
But we know that. So I will say we know she's not dead because in 5, when they're watching,
there's
an
Easter egg.
Yes,
but they thought she wasn't dead maybe before 5, and then 5 confirmed
it
based on the fans that love her, and then they bring her back.
We know that they didn't get Neve Campbell. Well, I think the Radio Silence guys wanted Neve Campbell back.
They did.
Yeah,
and the producers weren't going to budge.
This is similar to Creed in that the creative team wanted it, but the people that controlled the strings did not. And you can tell because
they give her a great line.
They said we're going to let Sydney have her happy ending, and I mean I don't believe that for a second. If they can reach a deal, she'll be back in the next one. But
see, I actually thought that it could have been. I don't know at what point I thought this in the movie, but could the whole dispute overpay have been just like the most well thought out and executed publicity stunt.
That would have been cool.
And then
she was a killer.
And nobody would have seen that coming. Like I thought that's like, could that have been? And then
that would have been genius.
It wasn't,
level brilliant.
That would have been genius.
It would have been genius, but they would have needed to have done it in a different manner.
Yes.
Having it be about like you're not paying women properly, and like that's some really
it's a little
bad
too real.
PR.
But if you didn't
world
give
stuff.
them as bad of a PR, if you didn't make
For
it about
sure.
that issue, and it was just like we couldn't reach an agreement or whatever,
Yeah.
and they kept it under wraps,
Right.
and they pull it off, they do it well. But the other thing about this movie that I think is kind of obvious, and not that they never have telegraphed anything, but I've never remembered a movie where the Dermot Mulroney character, right? Like they introduce him and he's a cop, right? And he's got Tara, or is it Sam's roommate? I don't know if they all live together, but
I think they all live
together.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the roommates they've got is the daughter of the cop.
Right.
And then they bring the cop in a way that seemed very inorganic to me, to where it's like, well, this is a police officer, and he's on the case, and then his daughter's involved, so he's off the case, and then he joins the friend group in a way where I'm like, I just don't think any other police officer would be.
This is what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Is we're introduced to the roommate, the girl, and she talks about losing her brother.
What was her name?
Quinn.
Quinn. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Quinn.
She talks about losing her brother.
Yeah.
And I was like, losing your brother, huh?
Yeah.
Then your dad's here as well.
Interesting.
And your dad, we're talking about losing a brother, and we're mentioning Stu Macher, and I was like, if we're gonna do a requel to Scream 2, who's the killer in that one? Billy Loomis's mom is the killer.
That's
so
and that's
I was
why,
like, if we pull this off, and the end reveal is that but Stu is alive, and his dad is there to get revenge on the daughter of the guy that corrupted his son and ended up killing his son.
Yeah. That would have tied in, right?
Like, I'm in. But
that's an interesting theory to think she's connected to Stu rather than she's ended up being connected to Richie. It's similar, but it could have led into
So the
Stu
reveal
thing.
here's the final reveal is that nerdy, quirky guy and roommate who we think is dead, surprisingly not dead, and Dylan McDermott, their son and brother was Richie, Randy Quaid and Meg Ryan's son. What's his name?
Oh, Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid.
Oh, Jack Quaid.
Which-
he voices Boimler on Star Trek Lower Decks.
He's also Huey on The Boys. On The Boys.
He's great, and he was great in Scream 5.
Yep.
He's awesome. So the reveal, this is
a little much.
This is the most Scooby-Doo ending of any of these movies, and the reveal that it was more family members of them. I'm like, okay, so Scream 7, the grandparents are going to come in and get their revenge. I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's so ridiculous. So I mean,
That's going to be The Visit. It's going to be a cross between Scream and the.
But just
and
go
The
back
Visit.
and think that like the police detective gets a job in New York, that his son was a serial killer,
Right.
and they hire. I mean, they have to know, right?
No,
Like,
because
the-
he changes his name.
Okay, so
But I will say, as far as background checks
Okay.
go,
You would think-
there's a lot involved.
that's what I'm
You would
saying.
think the police department would know how to do a background check, and it's New York City. It's not like
Correct.
he's in
Podunk.
Mayberry.
He's not in.
Yeah.
He's not in Woodsboro.
So
Right.
Tara goes to school in New York. She gets out of Woodsboro. Sam follows her. That's why she's there, and she's
Right.
working 2 jobs just so she can watch over her sister. And they're all being very protective. The friend group, understandably. Chad's got a crush on her that comes to fruition during this movie. But so the police detective gets a job there, changes his name, but he's the dad of the serial killer. They can't figure it out. Then
His name is George Bailey, right?
Oh,
that
is
his
it?
name? I'm almost positive.
Detective Bailey. I don't know what
Was it George Bailey?
I'm almost.
Hold on.
Bailey's the last name. Did they give us his first name?
Let me look. Hold on. There's a Crane in this.
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah.
Quinn Bailey. Crane is Samara Weaving. Her character is
Okay.
Crane. Oh my gosh, where is he on this list?
But I mean, obviously, the sisters are carpenters.
Detective Bailey.
Yeah.
They don't give a
Okay,
first name on
okay.
this, but
But that's from Psycho, right?
George Bailey. No, that's It's a Wonderful
On
Life.
Wonderful Life.
that's
Isn't
a wonderful
there
life.
somebody in Psycho named with the last name Bailey?
No, the detective in there is Arbogast,
Arbogast?
Loomis, Crane, and
Okay. But
Bates.
Crane is the psycho.
And Billy Loomis.
Marion Crane,
Yeah.
and then whatever Samara Weaving is something Crane. I didn't look it up. But
Yeah.
okay, so the detective gets a job there. They miss that on the background check. Then when we're in the apartment and the core 4 are all being friendly or whatever, you've got the guy from She-Hulk is Sam's love interest, and he lives
yeah.
across the way. They're keeping it secret because I don't know, she doesn't want people to.
Because plot device.
Yeah, right. It's like, come on.
I also kind of love the therapist when Sam finally tells him who she is. He's like,
Nope.
this isn't going to work for
above
me.
my pay grade.
No.
Get out.
So
Have you thought about BetterHelp?
So they're in the apartment having dinner or
/no
whatever.
spoilers.
Quinn is promiscuous. She's in a 3-way earlier in the movie. Like there's 2 guys in the room, and
She's not promiscuous. She's sex
Sex
positive.
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 Yeah.
okay.
Sex positive.
She likes the D.
Yeah. So they hear noises coming from the other room. They're like, oh, she's just getting it on or whatever. But the boyfriend can see because she's got her window open and he's got his window open. He's looking in and she's like on the phone, supposedly, I guess, talking with her dad because it sounds like they're discussing the case.
No,
She's-
oh, dang it.
Yeah, because it's after a killer.
Oh,
she
maybe.
says something where I remember because I'm like, well, that's got to be her dad because it had something to do with a killer, a case, or evidence or whatever. But then you see a
Yeah, it's
ghost.
always best practice to discuss, ongoing investigation.
An open homicide with your daughter.
Yeah,
Well,
with
in
your
this case,
daughter.
it makes sense.
And then I was very suspicious the way Ghostface showed up, and it's just like
Wait
it was just
a
like
minute.
I didn't know what to make of it, but it just seemed this is just something a little off
hold
about
on.
it.
Well, but listen, this is the thing. So why on earth none of them are trying to kill the boyfriend? None of them. So a Ghostface stands behind the killer, who obviously knows who Ghostface is, who one of the 3 Ghostface is,
Right.
so that the boyfriend can come and maybe interject. They're trying to kill these people. Why would you even stage that so that the only person that sees it is the boyfriend?
The only thing I could think in that situation is they knew the boyfriend was going to be looking at Quinn, and they couldn't set up the scene. They couldn't get Quinn to quote unquote die without there being some sort of production. So they put on a show for the boyfriend, then they throw Quinn through the door and they think that she's dead, and then they've got this murder scene. Now,
so let's say that's
it's
believable.
ridiculous.
Let's say that's believable. So then Dermot Mulroney,
yeah, Dylan McDermott.
yeah, can come and swap the bodies.
Correct.
And then now his daughter is going to be living under, I guess, another one of their fancy secret identities. Like, if they pull off their plan, now the daughter is gone. Maybe the son is.
Well, the daughter can now operate freely as Ghostface.
Yeah.
Like they think Quinn's dead, so that Quinn can do whatever she wants.
Oh, so now they want to continue. So this goes further than killing Sam. Now they just want to be professional ghost faces.
No, but I'm saying,
just saying, like, what is the plan?
I don't
here?
disagree.
No, I get in the movie now she can because she's off the suspect
Sure.
list. I'm saying, what on earth is their long-term plan?
Yeah, so much of this movie is for the sake of the narrative and the viewer,
And so the audience
and
can see these
It doesn't
things.
make any internal sense.
I want to know why they had to. I mean, I get, okay, you can. That's a very weird plan,
but
though.
also maybe cast a different actress that would be believable as Ghostface killing.
Well, I mean, that gal from
Five wasn't believable
very
either,
believable.
though.
I know.
So
Oh, no, I believed her because I saw what she did
Once Upon a
once
Time in
Hollywood.
Oh, I see. She got flamethrowered, right?
Yeah, she got flamethrowered in that and in Scream 5.
Yeah.
She got set on fire in both
Which was
movies.
very funny, very funny homage. So I don't know. The whole setup was very convoluted, and the reveal of it being the family and the 3 of them, and we're actually the dad, the brother, and the sister. It's like, oh my gosh.
And I will say, we talked about this bodega scene,
That's
but
a good scene.
I think it's
Very
fantastic.
tension
It's
filled, very violent.
It's very not fun to see Ghostface with a shotgun.
No.
Like, I don't like that at all.
This is the most violent movie.
Like they said, 15 a body count of 15.
They hold on the kills. They twist the knives.
Which they do in 5. Like they ramped it up in 5, right? We see Dewey's guts spill all over the floor.
They ramped it up, but this was a different type.
Yes.
And what I feel they increased the violence because somehow these writers and producers, directors, that they think by simply increasing violence, it somehow makes it a better horror movie. And it's just like, no, more violence does not a great horror movie make.
Sure.
And I feel this amped up violence is really employed as a tool that just simply compensates for this vapid storytelling. Like,
It
well,
is,
we don't
But
really
don't
have
they do
a good
that in other
story.
horror franchises? You
That's-
up the
that's
kills
always-
because the
that's-
story
yeah,
is.
I mean,
It's weird though. They up the violence, but it's not any scarier.
No.
Like,
no.
it's
And I
just
don't.
like,
and that's the thing.
here's a
is
moment of
just
violence.
for the thrills.
I don't think for me personally, gore in a horror movie is not scary.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Look
It's
at Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas. You don't even see anything.
Look at
in that
Halloween.
movie.
No.
Halloween.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, you barely. You could. I've said it before. If you resubmitted that to the MPAA, that's a PG-13 movie.
Oh yeah, these
Without-
days,
even-
without the boobs.
I think you might even be able to get away with the boobs.
I'm not saying you can't, but that's a. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could
think you
because it's
could?
not gratuitous, right? Like it's the top of her nipples. You don't see her full boobs.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's not PJ Souls. You see PJ Souls.
But it does.
When you freeze frame it, I mean,
although Freddy
take
has a
into
notoriously low body count, even all the way through the franchise, and then when we get to New Nightmare, not remake Nightmare, New Nightmare, the really good one.
Yes.
Even the body count in that one, it's 94. So you think you're going to have increased violence. Even in that, when it hits. I
think it's only like
there's
4.
Not a huge body count.
No, I think it's the husband, it's the babysitter.
Yeah,
that might be it.
I do feel like in those other horror franchises, now this one still has clever stuff, and these guys are very good. So I'm not saying, because this movie does not jump the shark, like we said, as some other franchises have.
Yeah.
But I think traditionally, when you have a weak story and don't know what to do, but you got to have this popular killer, well, they up the crazy kills.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think it's also interesting. The MPAA is with flicks like this is very interesting to me, because you put this exact same movie out in 1984, this is going to get cut.
Yeah,
MPAA is gonna be like, you can't have that,
yeah.
you can't have that. So, but it is interesting to see where we are in 2023, where they're just like, hey man, go for it.
Yeah.
You got that decapitated body in the freezer, and that head's gonna bounce off the floor and roll across it.
Well,
That's cool.
look at what these movies are doing too, right? Like movies are back, and these horror movies are the ones that kept theaters in business during the pandemic. People showed up to see horror, and I think that they know that for their industry to continue to thrive and survive, that they have to be lenient. It's obviously we're more progressive now. I mean, things are different, but also it's like, people are getting butts in seats. This is what they want to see.
Right.
So,
and we should say, before we wrap this up, we should say that like I do kind of like the idea that this guy, this version of Ghostface is killing people and leaving masks with the DNA.
Yeah.
Well,
on
then you
it.
got to get me into my penultimate problem with the movie then. Okay, we've come to find out, revealed that like those 2 film student guys were fanatics, and also his son was a huge fanatic, and I don't know, somehow there's some crossover with collecting and stuff. But Richie, Jack Quaid from 5 was this ultimate collector, and there was like a father and son bonding activity of getting all these.
He built like a shrine with all of the original stuff.
Because cops can be bribed. Every single cop and every single piece of evidence.
Okay, so now here's the thing. Now wait.
I'll allow it.
But
I mean,
hold on. Now all of that evidence, with the exception of exception of the stuff that was in 3, all came from Woodsboro.
Oh, man, so that's a lot of evidence.
You could make the case that they got one guy.
Woodsboro is a very small place.
Well, what do they
How
do?
much of their evidence lockers?
That's true.
But what do they do with evidence once a trial's over? Like
Mostly it gets burned.
All these killers have been killed.
Dead.
Like you don't even have to
trial.
worry. Yeah, you don't even have to worry about like, well, what if there's an appeal?
They don't
or what
keep
if
it on
gets
record for the DNA stuff, or don't they keep it?
I mean, you could. In
I think,
theory, yeah.
I mean, if you know who the killer is and they're dead, and you don't have to worry about appeals,
And
or
you
a
could
case
put
getting
you could put the
overturned.
killer's DNA on file.
Okay, so they could say it was destroyed and the cops were selling it off or
Could
something.
have, with the exception of 3, which takes place in L.A. Which, come on, it's the LAPD. Let's be honest.
But this shrine had every single.
There's a lot.
This was
There's a lot.
This was Easter eggs. It was just Easter eggs, but it was a little weird.
I also just feel like that's a pretty expensive hobby.
Right,
Like
right,
I
right.
would, you know what I mean? Like
Which could, to me, would have led credence to Dilmert McNulty being like from Woodsboro. If we're saying that he was a cop from Woodsboro,
you got to think in this world, these murders would have to be as popular as
Zodiac,
as John Wayne Gacy.
yeah, sure.
And
so the most famous.
Yeah. So for
one person,
one 22-year-old to have every ghost face mask,
right?
And every knife with the blood still on it, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's
and
just,
the blood was still red.
and it was still
right. except for Billy's shirt, which was brown.
Yeah.
But, so like, there's just no.
But when they pull out
consistency
the knife
that's bright red with the blood.
Yeah,
I just couldn't. I'm sorry to have that collection and have every
the
item.
car in Greece wasn't that. way.
Yeah, so that bothered me. And then Kirby. Okay, so we find out red herring
72.
to trick our cast and to trick the audience. Dermot Mulroney calls up and says, "Hey, Kirby, there's no evidence of the FBI. She was let go. She got crazy about these killings. Don't trust her."
To me, that seems plausible, right?
Okay, that's fine. But we find out, no, she's really she's an upstanding
a
member of
legit-
the FBI, right? So I know she's had trauma and all that trauma. Okay. I'm an FBI agent. Let's make a kill box and murder.
It does.
She's been following this case, right? She's pinning the charts. She's been tracking. The FBI is fully aware that she's the head of this investigation. Let's make a kill box. I just can't. That's dumb to me. That is bad writing. The FBI
that's what I mean.
is not going to
I
do
think
that.
this movie is really, really good. And
Or
it's
at least
on
throw
par.
a line like, we're making a kill box, but we're just going to trap them.
Correct.
And then...
Yeah, the fact that Kirby's the head investigator but willing to do a kill box.
I think that's what I'm saying. Is like I think the first 2/3 of this are on par with 4 and 5, and then to me it takes a massive kick in the when we get to that
third
kill
act,
box.
yeah.
I totally agree.
But I don't like, okay, the Scream movies have always been meta from Jamie Kennedy and doing the rules and stuff. I did not like that they retread against the rules again, and it's getting so meta. They could just wink at the camera at this point.
Right,
I just don't just
It's like it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy
Right,
at this
right,
point.
right,
And
right.
it's just
It was
like
clever.
we still see remnants of the original image, but it's getting incredibly degraded at this point. And it ultimately doesn't deliver anything new. And
No, I agree.
because it was fun in the fifth one, right? The twins doing the thing in the fifth one was clever and fun.
I think
but
also there was a bigger gap between 4 and 5. So
things had
Oh,
changed,
sure,
and
sure,
you were
sure.
hearing the new rules.
and it also felt fresh again, like, oh, I remember this scene. This is fun. But now
Right.
it's been this time. It's been what
1
2
year,
years?
A
no,
year.
last year,
Yeah,
last
that
January.
There's no suspense.
Oh wow.
There's
So-
no
Yeah.
real suspense in the entire thing between the it's in like 10th gear the whole movie.
Yeah,
So there's
right,
no
right.
emotional resets. There's no reason to feel tense about any of these situations because it starts off unpredictable, but then it winds up incredibly predictable. And I think the Scooby-Doo analogy is great.
Yeah, it loses a lot of steam in that last act, and when the reveal happens, and I was like, are they all Stu's brother and sister? Like, is that what? Oh,
Yeah.
they're all the same. Okay,
Were they
never mind.
Catholic?
Yeah,
how many
right,
people
right.
are in
how
this
many,
family?
how many mockers are there? Come on. And then, but I do like the DNA. Like, I do kind of like the detective aspect where they go to each crime and they're like, wait a minute, this has got Jill's DNA on it. This has got Mickey's DNA on it.
I
like
like the
that.
idea
I
of
like the
planting
detective story.
I did like that they would leave every kill they left behind a ghost female.
And we're
leading
counting
to
down to the
backwards.
last.
But the reveal of it and how they got
Which is why you
them-
think it's going to be Stu.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because
Correct.
from the first, so maybe that was their head fake, and it was supposed to be a clever, like, you thought it was Stu, but where it leaves you feeling like, I wish it was Stu.
I wish it was Stu.
And maybe for the next, but now I feel like for the next one, are they gonna
Here's
have
the
to
thing.
bring him back?
I
or-
don't know. I think
Or is he just really dead? Because I had a question mark by him. They never, they alluded to, there's those fan theories that he's alive.
still alive.
And there's a question mark. They
well,
didn't put
okay.
an
So
X
here's the
over
thing.
him.
In 3, he was supposed to be the killer in 3.
Because he's in the background.
Well, he's in the background in 2 only because he was dating Neve Campbell at the
Okay.
time. And
So
so
that
he's
wa-
like
that's
on.
right.
He was on
Oh.
set. But in 3, it was supposed to be Emily Mortimer's character and the other guy.
Okay, but that's
Roman.
what leaked, though.
That's what
And then
leaked,
they
is Emily
changed it.
Mortimer, and then Stu, I think, was supposed to be like the ringleader. He was supposed to be
I
orchestrating
see.
the whole thing.
And then Kevin Williamson said he's dead.
Oh, he did say that.
That's what I heard, that it's confirmed he's dead. But I don't know. They can still.
Yeah,
okay, Williamson
nothing.
says
There's
that,
no
but these
blood.
guys
There's
don't
no
say
blood on that TV.
Until it's on screen,
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
it's not.
I mean,
true.
But then when it is on screen, they go, that was a cover up.
But
Han was really working with
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah. But also
Nobody.
in these movies, Mr. Oh God. But in these movies, they have done that to us a lot, right? Dewey was supposed to die in 1, but the test screenings came back and they were like, man, these people love this guy. So they did that extra scene to make sure he was alive. And then that was kind of the running gag all the way up until 5 when he does not come back.
Now, you know what? So we talked about, was this movie just a year ago? To their credit, they pumped this thing out fast,
Yeah.
and to their detriment. It's like,
Sure.
you got to imagine. So the first one has a budget of like 20 million and makes 130. And that's why I was talking to Tom off mic when it's like, they only have so much budget. Like, I know that Neve Campbell has her worth and everything. I'm
Yeah.
not saying we wouldn't have liked to see her, but these movies aren't 20 million and then
These
they
aren't
make
Marvel
700
movies.
million.
That's true.
So they have to do the math and like, okay, so we give it a 20, it makes 130. We give them a 50, hopefully it makes 2 something. Like, it's proportional in a way to where
Adding Sydney to this movie isn't going to bump it $50 million.
right. And so as much as we like her, but like they got to go like, well, then that's our whole return, whatever it is. So the point being, though, this Scream 5 comes out in January of 2022. Scream 6 comes out in March of 2023.
That's
Within
two-
1 year,
that's
they had to
two-
write a script, film it, get it post-production, get it ready. And so
That's too fast.
it is. And I don't think they had time to, the studio probably wanted one now, if you guys want to be attached. And these guys are good, like we said. I think this
very
whole
much
team
so.
is good.
Yeah.
I think that they had them under the time crunch, and they came up with the best they could in the circumstances. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because they are good at what they do.
I think you make a good argument.
And look at the timeline.
Yeah, and like we said, it's not bad. It's
not.
just it's like when I used to hear my parents get talked to at parent-teacher
I did
conferences.
not know where that was going
It's
to go.
just like we expected more from him. We
Yeah.
know he can do better work.
right. And that's exactly I agree with you completely. Is
I could do better work.
you can do better work,
Yeah.
especially on this podcast.
This is
Crying out loud.
entertaining. I was entertained, but I was ultimately disappointed because I know how good these are. And that fifth one, I think, is like top tier
Yeah.
Scream.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. But again, look at that timeline. They had no time to do
Yeah,
this.
give them a year.
They came out with they came out with an okay
or give
movie.
them two. I'm sorry, no, give them 2
Yeah.
years.
They
to
came
just
out,
work it,
yeah.
and
They came out with an okay movie in a year from start to finish. So like, man, if this had time to simmer, if this came out in Halloween, it doesn't have to come out in March. If this came out in the spooky season,
I was
6
actually
more months.
I was looking at like what could be on the docket for Halloween,
Yeah.
right? And the last couple of years, it's been a Halloween movie.
Exorcist is probably the biggest
That's-
horror film that's going to be. I think it's October 13th.
And that's a requel.
And yeah,
Yeah.
mhm.
But is it supposed to be?
It
it's-
absolutely is.
okay.
They're bringing back who
haven't
played the mom in
Linda Blair.
No,
No,
she
she
played
was
the
the
daughter.
kid. I don't remember who.
Oh,
They're bringing back the mom.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
actress,
Gotcha.
the original actress, is coming back to play the same character.
What about
Gotcha.
the Pope's Exorcist or whatever?
That's definitely a movie that's been filmed.
yeah.
I wonder if that'll be
Yeah.
any good.
Probably not.
But
I saw the trailer to that one because like Kevin, I do my very best to avoid trailers, but I went and saw 65 yesterday, and that was very unusual trailers playing before this movie. It got a little of everything: Evil Dead, The Exorcist, and,
Evil Dead
and a
one
couple
wasn't
others. And so I was like, well, it's a movie.
okay.
But yeah, I think I totally agree. This is the you could do better. We expect better out of you.
Yes.
It's
But
still fun
it's
if you
still
like Scream
fun.
movie. It's
I
still
think-
a Scream movie.
I
It's
think this
very
is
much a Scream movie.
Very much a Scream
and
movie.
that's where it's like with these guys, you could have, switch that, go a different route. That opening scene, let us follow him the whole time and watch the tension as he's right there.
The whole
They're
time?
sitting right there with the killer, and we know it, they don't. And I don't know. That could be really interesting.
I think it would have been very interesting. Or bring back Stu.
I just wonder. I mean,
Or
maybe,
fix that third act.
Fix that third act.
Either fix the third act or make a totally different movie.
I agree. Yeah, either or. One of those.
always
One of
that's
those
not so
two.
hard.
No,
That's a good
yeah,
option.
right,
Yeah.
right. That's pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at KevinRBrackett.
And Ryan, where can they find you and your wares?
You can find me on Twitter at RLTerry1, and as kind of apropos to the movie, you can also now find me on Letterboxd. I finally caved and started one, which is, I think, letterboxd.com/RLTerry1 kind of is like my Twitter.
I have a
Awesome.
letterbox as well.
I'm too lazy.
And I don't think I'm following you, so I will have to
the same-
fix that.
Do it. Same thing as Twitter. JoeyButts21 on Letterbox.
All right.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Jason's face is melted by toxic waste.
Get better.